Can everyone see us? I'm seeing a lot of bread in the chat. That is like shelf space emoji. All the bread. I'm waiting for confirmation from them because last time we did this, I was just telling Kaylani, Jashana and I were talking forever and no one could see us. Okay, hi, Sam.
Hi, everyone.
Yay, you can hear us. Okay, awesome. So welcome everyone to the August, I can't believe we're in August, the August live show for Shelf Space, talking about The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin with Kaylani, our guest host. So before we get started, Kaylani, I would like for you to introduce yourself and tell us your favorite 3 fantasy books.
Okay. Well, I'm Kaylani from Kaylani Simply Me. My top 3 fantasy books, obviously Crescent City. Everyone knows it. Nevernight by J. Kristoff.
Okay, love that.
I'm trying not to think of another Sarah J. Maas because I have to draw a line somewhere. I'd have to say The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell.
Oh, nice. I need to read that still.
It's so good.
It sounds so good. I really need to read that. Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining. I see Books with V. So Vish is in Australia right now, and she is joining at 5 a.m. 5 a.m., right?
That's dedication right there.
Yay! That is so awesome. I don't wake up at 5 a.m. for just everybody. So thank you all so much for joining. So I know that a couple folks haven't read it yet, but wanted to just join kind of the beginning of the live show. So I figured before we got into spoilery chats, we could give our star rating and kind of a summary of spoiler-free thoughts, like why we gave a star rating. And I haven't heard any of your thoughts, so I'm so curious to see what you thought. So go ahead, Kaylani, tell us what you thought. And while she's doing that, everybody can leave their own star rating if you read it in the chat.
Okay, so I didn't like it. And I know that's not an unpopular opinion. I ran it through CallPile this morning and it came out at a very low 3-star.
Okay.
And I feel like that's a little bit generous.
Okay.
Without saying spoilers, the writing style was very, if I didn't have the audiobook, I would not have gone through that book. There was no way I could have read that physically. The storytelling was a little bit disjointed for me, and the ending wrapped up way too quickly. It could have been 100 pages shorter, and she would have got the same point across. It wasn't for me, unfortunately.
I feel so much less bad now because I ended up giving it 2.5 stars.
Oh.
And I was so bummed, and I felt like the same exact way. There was so much promise in the premise of it. It was such a cool idea, right? Mm-hmm. These cities taking on these souls and coming to life. Oh my God, I loved that. But then just the execution of it, I just didn't connect to the writing style, and found that there were so many questions that I had about the plot the whole time, and nothing got answered. And I know that this is going to be a trilogy, so maybe it'll get answered in future books, but my goodness, I was so confused.
I honestly, without even going into the second book, I honestly felt like the first book was just setting up for the second book to be a filler book, and then you fill everything out in the third book. And I feel like that's more of a YA thing to do, but I can already see the setup for that, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm going to kind of show some of the chat here because I do see some folks did enjoy it. I know that while we were going through kind of real time, Alan, I know that you were.
I know Jesse ended up really enjoying it.
Yeah, definitely there were some people who loved it. The audiobook, it sounds like
the audiobook was the selling point of this book for me.
Okay.
It was fantastic.
See, and maybe I always get audiobooks off of Libby, and it was a 9-week wait or something crazy
Yeah.
for the audiobook, so I couldn't get it. But I've heard similar sentiments from everybody else. Oh, awesome, Monica. I'm so glad that you gave it 4 stars. That's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the people who do love it love it. Like,
Mhm.
like there are some people who this is like their favorite. I've seen it going around. So
Yeah, Reagan from the I forget her channel name. She gave it a 5 star, and I'm like,
yes, yeah. I've definitely seen like the good reviews. So I'm glad that we feel the same though, because I was like, no, I don't want to like diss this book. I
DNF'd it.
Yeah. The ending fell short. The middle was dragging.
Yes.
3-star as an audiobook. Okay. So, I mean.
Yeah, the audiobook, I was like really surprised because it had like the chuckling, that all the laughter and like the music in the background. They had all of these sounds. It was like a really like well put together audiobook. The thing that would have made the audiobook like 5-star for me is if they had a full cast, which they didn't, unfortunately.
Okay.
But overall, the audiobook was really good. Like that was like
awesome.
I'm just gonna listen to it. At one point I literally had to put the book down because I'm like, I can't even stare at the page anymore.
Okay, thank goodness. I was so nervous, Kaylani. Elsie says I didn't love it either. I tried the audiobook and had to switch. Okay. Yeah, 4 stars. Good. I'm glad that some of you did connect with it. That's awesome.
I feel like people that read N.K. Jemisin before
liked
the book.
Yes. It took me ages to finish. Yeah, it did take me a little too long to finish it because it wasn't even that long of a book.
I finished it this morning. Like that's how it just. Every time I was like, okay, I need to pick this up. I'm like, I really don't want to pick it up, but it's like I didn't want to like not finish it either because that defeats the purpose of having a book club about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. This is a really great point, Alan, that you bring up. The first book was literally the glossary for the next book. It did feel like it was setting so much of it up for the rest of the series, but you do have to capture the reader in the first book for them to want to move on. So it's risky. Kayla liked it. Okay. I also gave it 4 stars, mostly because of the audio. Okay. Yeah, Sam, I totally agree. Like this is what, for me, like saved it. Because it did have amazing representation. And that's kind of where I want to start talking now, kind of spoileries. So if you haven't read it and you're in the chat, I'm so sorry, but we are going to start talking spoilers now. So if click off if you don't want to be spoiled for the book, because some people do love this book and totally connect to it. So I would still recommend it, especially if you like Jemisin, like especially if you've read her other books, because I actually just read the 5th season as well and was going to kind of talk about that during this as well.
I feel like it's a very niche audience. Like you have to love the direction that she's going.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what is N.K. Jemisin's pronouns?
I think she.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen somebody refer to her as they, so I just want to make sure.
Oh yeah, correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah, please correct me because I don't want to say that incorrectly. But I feel like it's a very niche, like a niche audience for sure.
Oh yay, Mariah! You gave it 5 stars. That's awesome.
Oh, Mariah, that is awesome.
That's so awesome. Okay, so let's chat now kind of about, so you do the Ka pile, which is awesome. I want to start doing that rating system because it really breaks it down, right? Mm-hmm. So what for you were like the strongest points, and then what were the low points?
So I actually still have my Ka pile up, so I can tell you
awesome.
what I gave it. And for me, the characters were the strongest point of this book.
Yeah.
And there was a lot. It was a very character-driven book, and I think that the fact that N.K. Jemisin put so much thought into each individual character, and they each had their own personality, was awesome. Yeah. Where it fell flat for me was the writing style, the plot, the intrigue, the logic, and my enjoyment of the book. Just they were all like 3 across the board for that because it just wasn't something that I overall enjoyed.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You said that you read the 5th season. Is her writing style very similar in that book?
It is. And that's where I really wanted to read the 5th season this month as well, because I wanted to kind of compare and contrast, because the 5th season is very high fantasy, not our world. And that's the complete opposite of City We Became. Totally our world, urban fantasy. So I wanted to see her writing style. And I have to say I was very confused in the 5th season as well. So I think you can definitely tell that it's a Jemisin book. You know, you can definitely tell that if you like her writing style in one story, it's going to translate really well to the rest of her stories, and kind of vice versa. So there's good points to that and bad points to that, because now I'm like nervous to go into it, but I wanted to write more, but I'm nervous to go into it because I didn't connect really to any of it. But yeah, as we're talking about characters, so which were your favorite characters and your least favorites?
My least favorite was Manny. He just wasn't a character that I connected with. Yeah. I personally really liked Bronca and Brooklyn.
Yes.
But I have a personal attachment to the name Brooklyn, so like her character meant a lot to me. Weirdly enough. And I like the fact that she had a daughter. And I feel like the two characters that had the most depth were the two of them, because they had family and they had, things to go on. I felt like Queens and Staten Island, we didn't get to connect with them very much because they were on the later end of the book. So it's like I didn't really have that connection, but I did like Bronx and I liked Brooklyn.
Totally agree. I thought that you could kind of tell that N.K. Jemisin, her favorite characters were Bronca and Brooklyn. You could tell she had so much fun writing their perspectives, which made it fun to read their perspectives. But I totally agree, like Manny, Island, and then Queens, I just didn't sense like a distinct personality from that. Like I didn't connect with them. And especially Manny, he, for me, because all of the boroughs kind of had their own personality, and I thought the characters really reflected that, which was really cool to see. That was one of the positives for me. But Manny, I didn't understand why he represented Manhattan. Like I wasn't clear on kind of the personality of Manhattan.
Yeah, he didn't really have one.
Yeah. So, and he like lost his memory, and I wasn't sure why he lost it versus everyone else kind of kept it. So that was interesting.
And like I thought that the little and I guess that's going to become more of a thing in the second book, but like the little bits and pieces that you get of his old life and kind of where that ties into him being Manhattan. I didn't really understand the connection, and I'm sure it's going to make more sense in the second book. Not that I will continue, but I think that it was an interesting plot of the book.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm going to try to catch up on the chat here and see what folks are saying. So looks like, oh wow, we have a lot of people joining. That's so awesome. Yay. Hey, Charles, thanks for joining. Mariah, I would say the first 100 pages almost lost me. Yeah, it was like very confusing at first, but then you kind of start to understand. All right, let's see. I finished in the same days it took me to finish this. Why did it feel so long? Yeah, I think it's a writing style. I do like that HP. Yeah, so that was another thing that I didn't pick up on because I haven't read any Lovecraft and I'm just not familiar with his writing at all. And apparently there was a lot of references to his works and his villains and monsters that he had created. I think the woman in white, the main villain, is a Lovecraft villain. So I don't know if you picked up on any of that or knew. Yeah, see, and that's where like, if I had known that, I probably would have been like, whoa, this is really cool. But I had no idea. So at the time, it just went totally over my head.
Yeah.
Let's see, Kayla, I do think fifth season, yeah, I did like fifth season more. So I would still recommend you try fifth season, Kaylani, and see if you.
Which is interesting because I do own it, and I was like really excited because I'm like, oh, if I love this, then I can just binge. I also have How Long Until Black History Month.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, now I'm kind of like scared because I mean, you can literally, Jesse, you can see like where I gave up. Can you see that? I have tabs in like the first 100 to 150 pages of the book, and I gave up. I'm like, nah, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I am scared to pick up more of her books, but I also don't want to give up on her as a whole,
I agree. Yeah, I want to try her Dream Blood duology. I think that was her first, and that's the one I want to try next. This is my first Jemisin, and I gave it 4 stars. I don't know what that says about me. That means that you like Jemisin's work. And honestly, she has won so many awards.
Yes.
She has so much recognition. She's obviously an expert in what she does. So maybe we're missing something.
I feel like we are the minority because most of the people that I've seen read this book loved it. Like almost every booktuber that I've seen review it has given it high ratings, and I'm like, okay, where did my brain go? Honestly, I'm not a huge like high fantasy person. I mean, I want to get into it, but I don't think that this was a good start for me.
Yeah. Yeah, Charles, Jemison's writing style is really specific and not for everyone. Yep. It's not like I always think of like kind of Brandon Sanderson, right? That's like the big booktube name in fantasy, and his writing is so mainstream. You know, it's like that's how I think of it, is like mainstream versus like indie niche kind of writing.
Yeah.
So like more people are going to enjoy Sanderson because it's kind of this more mainstream writing style. But if you connect to Jemison's writing style, you're probably going to love it so much more because it's just going to connect to you on a deeper level. Yep. That's awesome. Oh, nice.
I feel like that people that have never read Jemison before, like going into this book, I was so confused. Like I think most of the people said in the chat, like they didn't even know it was a guy until like 40 pages, and I was like, what are we reading?
Oh, hey, Luna.
Hi, Luna.
The 5th season is much harder. There's second person. Yeah, the second person is jarring at first. Premise is very good. Yeah, and that's the thing. I loved the idea behind this with the cities. As a native New Yorker, I think my greatest problem was in any way that New Jersey is part of the New York spirit. So I can't speak to that, John, but that's very funny. Okay. I love the way she spent so much time building the characters, and each character represented so much more than just the city with their personal journey. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, some of these characters are going to connect to people on such a deep level, and that's so awesome. Like, Bronca and Brooklyn, I feel like were really well done.
They were.
Bronca, yes. Look at all the Bronca love.
Got a lot of Bronca love. I love it.
Yeah. I didn't love Manny either. Yeah.
Yeah, what you were saying is, you could definitely tell that N.K. Jemisin took more time with those two characters than any of the other characters, for sure.
I agree. I understand it. Yeah, and so this gets into where kind of let's talk about some of the plot, right? Because I had questions, and it might have been me just missing some of it. So I'm curious if we chat about it, maybe someone will know the answers. Yes. So one of my questions was, why does the birth of a city destroy another city? And kind of that whole concept, because that was why the woman in white was attacking New York in the way she was, and I just didn't understand why.
And there was no answers given, so I don't understand either. Somebody that love this book, help us out, because I'm lost.
So that was for me. Like, I think where this book shined was atmosphere.
Yes.
You could tell this was her love letter to New York City.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, have you visited New York or kind of spent any time there? And I was wondering if anyone in the chat has visited New York or lived there, spent a lot of time there, I wonder if this would connect with you more, just because it really felt like you could tell she knew New York City like the back of her hand. And you could see her passion for the city, even with all the frustration she showed with the city. She still loved it. And
it's a fantastic part of the book, by the way.
Yes.
To be able to interweave her, just different things about everyday culture and how Black people live in America, or how, just racism as a whole. So many little things were dropped in there that I'm like, wow, it's powerful. But I just wish it was the basis of the book.
Yeah. And so there were all of those awesome moments and themes explored, but I felt like it almost overshadowed just the central plot that was taking place, where the plot took kind of a backseat to the atmosphere and the themes that were being explored. So I think that's where I wish we had just had a more clear plot with all of that also in it. So let's see what other people think. Her writing just isn't very approachable. Yeah.
The creation of a city punches through the multiverse and creates an anchor point for the avatars to transcend realms. That is some deep stuff right there.
Which one? Oh, here we go. Okay, this is the one you're.
Yeah. I know.
I might need a little more elaboration.
Yeah, I like where we're going, but I still don't. I don't connect.
Yeah. I love that we all have different opinions. Yeah. I like that she knew who she was and Bronco owned that. Yes, yes. Charles, you all remember so much more than me, and I just finished it yesterday.
I love that.
Let's see. That's why they have powers over the real space and the city space. Yeah, I think it's a very like cerebral concept. It almost felt like at times it leaned more sci-fi with some of these like multiverse ideas being explored, which I like the idea of multiverses, but I was just very confused. But I guess maybe it's explored more in future books.
And I feel like some of the writing was a little bit more stream of conscious than I'm used to.
That's a good point. Yeah, it did feel like kind of you were going off on tangents a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing, because I now have kind of noticed this with both City We Became and fifth season, where the main plot that's taking place, like you can kind of discern what it is, but there's no sense of like urgency towards a clear like solution. So like we knew that the woman in white was taking over. We knew that this was the big plot, like this is the big battle we're leading up to. But there was no sense of urgency that I felt from the characters because they kept going off on like side tangents.
But I also feel like M.K. Jameson built up to this big battle and there wasn't anything.
Let's talk about
so quickly. Like the last chapter, I was like, wait, it's over? Like, what do you mean? We didn't do anything. Nothing happened. And like the fact that it just so happened to work out that the one person that's been following them around since day one just so happens to be New Jersey. Like,
yeah. I think
it seemed so easy.
It was, yes. I think, it did wrap up a little too nicely, and we almost didn't even see how it wrapped up.
Yeah.
It almost like cut away, it felt like. And that was where I was like, did I miss something? I had to like kind of go back and reread because as if I understood it correctly, they brought the main avatar of New York City to life by having Veneza become Jersey City. And then it kind of cut away to the epilogue.
Happy ending.
But we have to see how he beat the woman in white. Or if he even did. Sam, what battle?
I know, seriously.
I don't know. Okay, here we go. Okay, the infinite parallel realities theory. City's birth links all realities together. Wow, that is
so deep.
That is very, very deep. The ending to be continued. It did feel like one of those where it cuts to black and it just says to be continued. Why the woman in white sucked so much at her. And again, it kind of ties into like there wasn't a sense of urgency, right? Mm-hmm. Like she never like did anything so extreme that you felt like, oh my God, like we have to beat her now.
Yeah.
It just, the ending was so random. Okay.
And it was almost like the woman in white had a sense of urgency, but none of the other characters did. But she was also like biding her time. She was very strategic about what she did. But then when you got to the end and you saw her kind of like fading away or whatever was happening to her as they were killing off the city so miraculously, I still don't understand the ending. I'm sorry. But it's like, you could see like she had that sense of urgency in her, but like the other characters, like, oh, we're just here. Oh, we're just cities. And I like how like none of them questioned anything. They were like, yeah, I'm cities. What's up?
Yeah.
I would have been like, excuse me, my life's falling apart. Somebody help me.
Yeah.
Queens was a little bit of that.
Yes, that's true. Yes, I agree with everything you just said. I feel like if she could make people to connect, even if they haven't been to the location, it would have been much greater. Yeah. I think I would have connected with it more if I'd been to New York. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I wonder, like, if someone who's living in New York read this, would they be like, "Oh my God, this is my favorite ever"?
I know I mentioned Reagan a couple of times, but Reagan actually lives in New York. So maybe why she loved it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And again, I think that's where this book shines. But I know New York. But I did not know I don't know that either. Good question, Monica. We'll have to ask somebody from New York. We'll have to ask Ryan.
Yeah.
I didn't like Island. I had a hard time connecting with her and her. Yeah, Island was, I think, definitely not the antagonist, obviously, because that's the woman in white, but she was definitely an obstacle for all of our other characters. And she had really, it was so hard to read from her perspective because of her views. And I mean, I think it's very relevant right now with everything going on. It's almost like N.K. Jemisin probably took years to write this book, but it released at such an optimal time, you know? And it was really tough to read from Island's perspective.
Yeah, especially that scene where with the fathers, but then you see like her backstory. Like she had a tough upbringing.
Yeah,
there's no words. Like he was a horrible man.
Yeah,
and, like to see that come, like it was honestly though the whole thing with the house and what happened to Aislinn or whatever her name was.
Yeah,
it didn't make sense in the book. Other than to like bring up important topics of today's society.
Yeah. And I was really hoping at the end they would have to like make her see better. Like she would have some sort of arc in this book where we'd see her shift perspectives and her views. But we didn't, and then Jersey City kind of came in. But again, I think that's why this is the first book in a trilogy.
Yeah,
she's probably going to have a multi-book arc, which is why N.K. Jemisin probably didn't do that with her in this first book. But yeah, I mean, I think I was just so frustrated reading from her perspective that it wasn't like enjoyable, you know?
Yeah. I honestly, even though you're doing a trilogy, like there was just so much filler in this book. If it was just like 100 pages less, like it just would have been almost a little bit more enjoyable because there were just so many slow bits where I'm just like, are we there yet? And the chapters were so long. I was just like, let it be done.
Yes, I know. That's a good comment. I think she'll have an interesting growth period in the next book. You'll have to let us know, Jess, in the next book, what her character arc is, because I bet she is going to have like a redemption arc kind of thing.
It would be interesting to see if she didn't, though. If she didn't have a redemption arc, the full other spectrum.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I was born and raised in. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, even if. Okay.
Our theories have been squashed.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about, clearly. All right. Let's see.
Alan makes a good point. I think the fact that she doesn't change is more realistic. Looking through those kinds of thought patterns isn't something really easily done.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's so true. And it is a really interesting perspective to have because it's so unlikable and so hard to enjoy reading from that perspective, but it's also really important to read from those kinds of perspectives because, I mean, that people are like that out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, that's true that it does make it more realistic. That's a good point, Alan. Yeah, it was that. I mean, it was so frustrating reading from her perspective.
But I love how, like, even though she was not, like I said, not the antagonist of the story, but an obstacle, she still had no problem with the fact that she was a city. Like,
yes, I think, yeah. And I had questions on, and again, I think maybe someone in the chat will know where some of these answers. So why did Manny? Why was he the only one who lost his memories versus any of the others? Is it because he wasn't inherently from New York City? And if that's the case, why was he chosen to be the avatar for Manhattan? That was kind of one of my questions that I'm sure all of these are going to get answered in future books, but maybe something was said in this book. And then the other question was, why did Branka know all of the like past where none of the other characters knew anything? And I think the reason was like because Branka's older.
That's what I was thinking too. She has the most wisdom.
Yeah, which like, okay.
I just
So,
needed more explanation.
yes. Someone in the Discord kind of had a good point that they brought up while they were reading, where a lot of the characters and the explanations for what was going on was like, they just like felt it. Like they just like felt that they had to do this particular thing. They just felt like they had to go to this particular place. That was kind of the explanation behind things, which
doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay. That's why just the book lacked logic. It lacked logic. Like so many things, I'm just like, okay, we're doing that, but like, why? Like, what's the purpose? What's the answer? Like, I just felt like that was most of the book. I kept sitting there like, why? What did we do? Why?
Yep. No, I mean, and again, like, atmosphere and themes took the precedence in this book, and plot took kind of the back seat, and that's why.
And what do you think the purpose of Sao Paulo and Hong Kong were?
You're asking the right question. I don't know anything.
Well, do you understand? Because obviously the two of us, we are just.
I mean, well, okay, so I guess the positive there was it was cool to see other cities and like which other cities would be alive already.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool, but I didn't understand why they were there either.
And I thought because Sao Paulo was there, because reasons, exactly. Because Sao Paulo was there from the very beginning, I thought he would have more of like a important role. Like he was supposed to be there for a reason, but I just didn't understand what the reason was. Yeah. And then Hong Kong just showed up out of nowhere. I'm like, where did this guy come from?
I don't know. Also, did Manny turn into King Kong at one point? I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he did, Sam.
But wait, is what's the building that King Kong was on? Is that in Manhattan?
Yes, I think so.
Ah,
which is like fun. See, and like there were so many of these like moments that were great, and it was just kind of bogged down by plot questions. I don't even want to say plot holes because again, I think they're probably going to be answered, but it's just too many.
If it's a standalone, then definitely plot holes. But since it's a series, it's like kind of have to give it some leeway with knowing that there's more coming.
Yes. Yeah, Mariah, that's okay. That makes sense.
Blanca stated that she was given the gift and received.
Okay.
Fingers in the way.
What were the other avatars' gifts? I don't remember.
Manny's was protecting the city, New York.
Okay.
But then I'm lost.
Okay.
Freaking, what's her name? Staten Island. She was able to use the city as like a force field to other people. I don't really understand that one, but at the very end, she had that power.
Oh yeah.
And she pushed Sao Paulo somewhere. I don't know where she put him, but
okay. So yeah, they do get a gift.
Yeah, Queens was a gift with math.
Take a shot every time we say why. Really? We would be at the hospital.
My husband's driving. You hear that, honey?
That Manny lost his memory because Manhattan embodies people. Oh, that's okay.
Oh,
that makes sense.
That's deep. You guys are like really.
You guys are really cool. Deep. I am not that deep, you guys.
I'm over here like I just read it.
I'm just like, give me some good magic, and I'm there. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, let's see. Way of Kongs instead of Way of Kings. Thanks.
Can I just say that I wasn't a part of the chat as much as I wanted to because I didn't read as much of the book as quickly as a lot of you guys did. But this chat in Shelf Space is fantastic. All of you are so much fun. You guys are like a great community. It's so awesome.
Thank you. We just throw a lot of bread around. That's pretty much.
I love it.
That's like the Shelf Space emoji.
Bread.
I thought that Sao Paulo was the most recent city to be born, therefore was supposed to. Oh, thank you for catching that when I did not, Alan. That makes sense. And again, I think probably some of my questions were answered and I just missed it because physically reading the book was the hard.
It took a toll.
Yeah, the most recent other city helps the newest city to be born. That makes sense. Okay. Paolo was the designated advisor guide. Love the little
smart, you guys. Look at the gorilla. Oh, I love it.
The last city to become alive. Okay, yeah. Failed at New Orleans. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about was another, and this is where, like, again, I love the themes that were explored in this book. The idea of a city taking on its own personality and soul and culture and kind of what makes a city do that. And I thought it was really interesting how, like, the more chains that come in and the more like big skyscrapers and business comes in, that kind of takes away some of the like mom and pop shops and those sorts of things, takes away from the culture of the city.
Yeah.
And I loved exploring that idea of like what gives a city its culture.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool discussion point to bring up.
Jefferson really doesn't like Starbucks.
Yes. Like Starbucks is definitely the enemy of New York City. And I can attest, every time I've been to New York, I've seen a Starbucks on every single street. And it was like, really? Freaking died with Starbucks chase them. Yes. N.K. Jemisin does not like Starbucks. I think Dunkin' Donuts also started chasing them, which was very funny. So there were definitely like, again, I love the themes that were explored in this. It's just, I so wish the plot was just a little tighter.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was definitely missing some things that would have made this book like a star book. It just wasn't quite put together well enough for me. It was just kind of like very disjointed. You have like this section of the book and then you have this section of the book, and it didn't seem to like flow together very well.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Queen's gift was math. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, she did make herself invisible. That's right. Hide from when she had that scene with the guy at the pool and then like hid herself for like the security camera or something to get away. I do remember something like that. Yes, that's.
I thought it was weird that the security camera caught anything at all because I was lost in that section.
Yeah, again, the writing style kind of made it hard to follow. Just reading other interviews late at night when I can't sleep. I mean, it's a great way to find answers.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely makes sense. Shelf space cadets. I love it. Oh, I love you guys.
What was Bronca's gift besides yelling at everyone? True question.
Yes, like that's it. Yeah, exactly, Mariah. I loved that discussion of like, as long as it's in the hands of the people who love the city, that's what makes the culture of the city stay. You know, I love that. I love that discussion. Yeah, very funny. Bronca could use constructs using magic to channel her power.
Yeah, when she was moving the things in the water with Vanessa.
Oh, yeah. I loved Bronca and Vanessa. Is that how you pronounce her name? Vanessa. I loved their friendship as well. I wish we had gotten a little bit more scenes with them because they had
banter and
they had a nice.
Seems like they were like good, like really good old friends.
Yeah, I love like really good friendships in books. I love that. So that was.
I also like that there was zero romantic anything in this book.
Yeah, and it totally like didn't need it. That was like refreshing to just see really good friendships between people. There's not enough like just really awesome platonic friendships in fantasy, so I love seeing that.
It's true.
Brooklyn was the music. That's what I thought. Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's right. Man, I just lost everything. I just finished it today and I'm still confused.
It's all good. Yeah, Brooklyn had like the rap battles. That was fun. Yes. Yeah, Brooklyn was such an awesome character.
Manny did have a crush on New York, but that was at the very end.
And I was confused and again, I think Manny, we're going to discover more of his past in future books, but I was confused as to like how he knew the avatar of New York City when no one else did. Like, how did he have that connection to?
Well, that was his gift. His gift was he was like the protector and bodyguard of New York City.
Oh, okay. So that was just, okay.
He had that special connection with him.
Okay. That was, yeah, man.
Mary Handsome and still love.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, I think that for me, this book, I'm glad I read it because I think that it really did explore some really important and great themes, and some of the character work was great, and the atmosphere that Jemison creates is amazing. But at the end of the day, like I definitely need, I'm like definitely more of like a plot driven reader in fantasy. So I just need more like solid plots to follow.
Can we talk about that comment up there about New York City and Sao Paulo being in a relationship? Because I missed that.
What? I totally missed that as well.
Did everyone see that? And I just was like right over my head because I did not even notice it.
I totally missed that. I want to know what went down in London. Yes, Sam. Yeah. I know, I hate love triangles too, Mariah. I'm also glad. I loved the friendships in here, yeah. Yeah. So I have a question then. If there was one other city that you think would be born in the US, what city do you think it would be?
In the US? Chicago.
Yeah. Chicago.
Even LA. They could do LA.
LA. I could see LA. Yeah.
Which is very scary. I don't even want to read about LA.
I would love to see like other cities in the US being born. Yeah, Los Angeles.
That's what I was hoping from this book, that you would get a nice tight wrap up and then it would jump into other cities and then the people from those cities would like, you know, move on to help the next city. But it seems like we're going to follow New York all the way through.
Yeah, it does. And it didn't sound like, I don't think there was another city born in the US. I think New York City sounded like it was going to be the same. New Orleans like died. So, oh wow, look at everybody's answers. This is so
Seattle, fun. Miami. Ooh, Miami would be good.
Oh yeah, Miami.
Seattle's a good one too. They did mention Seattle in the book, so.
Yeah.
No Florida cities, please. I know that's what I'm saying about LA. Don't. No, thank you.
But it was a stillborn. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. New Orleans would have been good. Yeah. Seattle. Yeah.
New Orleans would have had a lot of charm. So I'm kind of sad that city died because
I know.
That would have been a whole city to like see come to life.
That's a good question, Abby. I don't know why New Orleans would be born before New York, but I've also never been to New Orleans, so I don't.
It's a tester city.
Yeah.
Like, could we do it? And then it died.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious. That's awesome. Well, cool. I honestly, I didn't have much more to bring up just because I was confused for most of it. So I'm glad that I wasn't alone, though. So I'm curious, are you going to pick up other Jemison books?
I will, because I own 2 now, and it's like, I'm not going to just write her off. But right. I think I might start with How Long Until Black History Month.
Yeah.
They're more of like a outside of, maybe, I don't even know if it's outside of fantasy. Somebody got it as a gift from me. But I would be curious to see like how she does outside of like this realm of high fantasy or urban fantasy. I would be very, very curious to continue, but yeah, I'm hesitant. We'll say that. Yeah.
I'm going to try the Dreamblood duology next. I don't think I'm going to continue with the 5th season just because I was so confused still.
The Inheritance Trilogy. Is it the Inheritance Trilogy or is it the...
Yes, there's another one called the Inheritance Trilogy that I would also be interested in trying. I'm like determined. I want to try every Jemison book. Yes, I want to find one that I love. So I'm definitely going to do that. So if you are also going to read another Jemison book in the chat, leave which book you're going to try next because I'm curious.
Yes, and then also, are you guys excited for next month? Jesse and Jesse together for Rage of Dragons, right?
Rage of Dragons is next month. Yes.
How exciting.
Yeah, so if anyone's interested in joining, Rage of Dragons, very exciting. And then you have your own book club. So do you want to make that announcement here as well, so in case anyone wants to join for that?
Yes, next month we are reading Mermaid Moon.
Which has the most stunning cover I've ever
seen. And it's gorgeous. It's a Little Mermaid retelling. The chat picked it, so that's what we're reading for next month. But we're still in the process of picking for October and November. So if you guys want to join, it's Kaylani. No, that's mine. No, it's Simply We Read.
Simply We Read, yes. And I'm going to leave all of your book club's information down in the description box once this gets uploaded so that everyone can go join your Discord. I loved your Scythe chat. That was the book for this month, was Scythe.
Yes. So and bring out the bread.
Bring out the bread, yes. We'll definitely bring the bread in Kaylani's Discord server. That will be fun. So thank you all so much for joining. Thank you so much, Kaylani, for helping host this month. Even though we didn't love the book, I'm so glad we read it, and I'm glad that we were able to do this together. So thank you
for having me. I had so much fun.
Yes. Thank you all so much for joining in the chat. And again, next month is Rage of Dragons. If you want to join, the Bookish Mom is going to be our guest host, Jessie. So her channel is also going to be linked in the description box. So thank you all. Thank you all. Another successful month.
We did it.
We did it. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day.
And thank you, you too. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.